Are you searching for the best in online black radio? Then go to blacktalkradionetwork.com, helping you filter through the noise. Real talk, black talk.
The internet is full of half-truths and all-out lies. We've all seen them, and many people on social media complaining about it. Here's your chance to show and prove. WorldAfropedia.com is a black-owned and operated encyclopedia. There are several thousand articles, but we need help. We can't uncover all the truth ourselves. So please, join us and become a writer, editor, or blogger for WorldAfropedia.com today. Every little bit counts. We owe it to the future generations to put the truth out there. Visit WorldAfropedia.com, the African-centered encyclopedia, a global database of African knowledge for the purpose of bringing about global African wisdom and understanding. WorldAfropedia.com.
Got another term on there, VGQ. What does that mean? Victims Guaranteed Qualification. Now, that keeps you from getting into arguments with other black people, particularly on television, which I get sick of that. Black people shouting. You know, we get into our ghetto thing once we get on television and get wound up, and we start all yelling at once. And the racists sit there smugly and just look. They watch the tennis match, so to speak. Right? And black people are shouting each other down, talking about, you don't know what you're talking about, and so and so and so and so, and we go into our Amos and Andy and Sapphire Act. Okay? VGQ means Victims Guaranteed Qualification. Guaranteed qualification to do what? To give your opinion on anything about race. Don't care what it is. If you're on there with Minister Farrakhan, or you're on there with Mike Tyson, or you're on there with Miss, what's her name, Williams, the lady that had him put in, recommended that he be put in jail, or you're on there with anybody. So you don't cut the other black person down. Now, I don't even like that term brother and sister, even though it's been around for about 30 years. Well, I ain't going to talk about the brother here, no. See, we haven't reached that stage where we can do that. See, we got to crawl before we walk, but we don't miss any steps. Don't say you are what you're not. Don't say you feel something that you don't really feel. You don't really feel that he's a brother. I usually use the expression, I don't like anybody in here. I say that to all audiences. I haven't been taught to like anybody. I've been taught to dislike people. Been taught that. Right. And then they're taught to dislike me, so it's just compounded disliking. I haven't even got to love yet. All right? So what we do is minimize conflict, try not to hurt each other. So a certain thing, that's what a code is for. It's a stopgap. It keeps me from saying something against you. You say, well, don't you agree with what this person just said down here on the other end and whatnot? That person has VGQ, Mr. Donahue. I keep using him because he's one of the most prominent TV people. Right? But the main thing you do is try to stay off of a radio program or TV program or even a neighborhood stage program, you might say, where you spend your time shouting back and forth at other black people. Nothing is getting done there. And when it's done on television, a lot of black people just get up from the TV set and go on in the kitchen somewhere once that shouting starts. Yeah, they get disgusted. They say, oh, here we go. They started off okay, but now they're doing a job on each other, and I don't even want to hear it. So just don't do it. And you cut it off. The cutoff point is that person has Victims Guaranteed Qualification. You spell it out what it means. Meaning the person can say anything about race that they want to, and I can say anything about it that I want to. You are guaranteed that. You earn that as a victim. Simply by being a victim. Now, if a white person says something, that's something else.
Paradox of liberty. Lest we forget, This chapter is about the great white Aryan Anglo-Saxon civilization's commitment to follow the sun, civilize the world, and help all the unfortunate savages find Jesus. One of those civilizing Anglos was, of course, Thomas Jefferson. In fact, the Smithsonian installed an exhibit dedicated to the greatest gentleman slave owner of the United States, entitled Slavery at Jefferson's Monticello, Paradox of Liberty. Author Leah Caldwell writes, after visiting the exhibit, "It doesn't bode well that if you enter the Jefferson exhibit not knowing what slavery was, you might come out thinking it was an intensive training program for highly skilled craftsmen." Nevertheless, Edward Rothstein's review in the New York Times is a classic example of the establishment's fourth estate protecting the status quo. Sit down, don't rock the fucking boat, when he actually criticizes the exhibit for stating that Jefferson's Declaration of Independence did not extend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to African Americans, Native Americans, indentured servants, or women. Rothstein wrote that this pushed too far, and that each of those cases needs different qualifications and examinations. They distract from the subject. In his autobiography, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, the great social reformer remembers his first thoughts regarding his condition. In fact, his reflections on his own experiences offer an appropriate response to Jefferson's cheerleaders. Why am I a slave? Why are some people slaves and others masters? Was there ever a time when this was not so? How did the relation commence? Once engaged in the inquiry, I was not very long in finding out the true solutions of the matter. It was not color, but crime, not God, but man, that afforded the true explanation of the existence of slavery. Nor was I long in finding out another important truth. These, what man can make, man can unmake. Here's another answer for those who like to contextualize about those masters who own, subjugate, and crush other human beings. It's never been considered okay to own another soul, unless, of course, you're modeling yourself after Satan. Remember, this wasn't during the lower Paleolithic period. It was during the so-called Age of Enlightenment. In his essay, Jefferson's Crime, Not Mitigated by the Standards of Time, journalism professor Robert Jensen frames Jefferson's blameworthiness. Certainly Jefferson was familiar with pain and the arguments against slavery. Certainly Jefferson was aware of the existence of the idea that all humans had an equal claim to liberty, and the argument that Africans should be considered human in these matters. Certainly, there were many different ideas about the institution of slavery and racism in play at the time. So we're not judging Jefferson by the standards of our time when we point out the way in which he employed racism to justify the barbarism of slavery. We are acknowledging that others in Jefferson's time, including such notable figures as Paine, articulated anti-slavery and anti-racist principles at the same time that Jefferson was, in 1781, writing in his Notes on the State of Virginia about the natural inferiority of blacks. Discussing the night side of Jefferson's legacy in the radio documentary American Icons, Monticello, American artist Myra Kalman suggests, if you want to understand this country and what it means to be optimistic and tragic and wrong and courageous, you need to go to Monticello. Tragic and wrong, for sure. Monticello. Jefferson's neoclassical Virginia brick villa stoically perches above 5,000 acres of rolling green hills, his plantation once tended to by hundreds of African slaves. From Jefferson's divine resting place, vistas stretch forever, and the Blue Ridge Mountains loom to the west. Monticello is a popular tourist attraction, where Jefferson's slavery component is, for the most part, whitewashed down the hillside, where it flows to the Rivanna River, which connects to the James River, past other sprawling Virginia estates that should rightly be categorized as America's colonial terrorist camps, also known as plantations. It's as if we've been erased, observed one African-American visitor. The iconic architectural element of Monticello is the dome structure that towers above all else on his celestial home. Many believe that dome to be nothing more than a stately aesthetic element, but factoring in Jefferson's obsession with African slaves, actual testimony from his slaves, and an architectural concept called panopticon, a darker, more deviant purpose emerges. Quote Bob Dylan, "All along the watchtower, princes kept the view, while all the women came and went, barefoot servants too." Lucia Cinder Stanton, Monticello's senior historian, envisions Monticello as a panopticon with Jefferson the all-seeing at the top. He could see everything that was going on. Jefferson's library contained a copy of a book called Panopticon that outlined a new and controversial prison design that called for circular cells surrounding a central watchtower. Inmates would be unaware if they were being observed. At least 2 former slaves talk about Jefferson with his telescope watching enslaved people at work, Stanton reports. So this whole concept of surveillance from his central place on the apex of the mountain came through the oral tradition. He could see out, but nobody could see in. Equipped with his telescope, this warden in a powdered wig would gaze down from his heavenly dome, tracking his enslaved labor force on Mulberry Row or in the fields or wherever forced labor took them. The enlightened Jefferson kept meticulous records of almost everything associated with his life. 2 subjects stand out, vegetables and slaves. Novelist and Professor Jamaica Kincaid with regard to lettuce, cabbage, carrots, cucumbers, and peas. The garden book has details of the things he planted, the food he planted, but it looks as if it just falls magically at the table. So he'll say, peas were planted. 6 weeks later, peas appear at the table. There's no involvement of labor. There's no soil at all. It's as if it's eaten. It doesn't have any evil in it. But when it comes to the checklist of Negroes owned as calculated by Jefferson, Kincaid says, the farm book, on the other hand, is all evil. Very similar to his book about peas, corn, beets, and other vegetables, the farm book is a painstaking record of the human beings Jefferson owned. Betty, Martin, Thenia, Critta, Sally, Johnny, Daniel, Molly, and so forth. Sinister? Yes. Evil? Absolutely. More fairy tales about America's founders? Of course. Here's how the Monticello website heralds the bullshit. Monticello was home not only to the Jefferson family, but to workers, black and white, enslaved and free. Workers? Jesus Christ. American bullshit runs deep. Jefferson historian Joseph Ellis underlines Monticello Tom's warped sense of his Teutonic responsibility. Jefferson argued that one of the reasons that he couldn't free his slaves was that once freed, the blacks would intermarry with the whites and would dilute the pure Anglo-Saxon race. Well, he's fathering children by Sally Hemings, and some of them look almost purely white. And again, you get a Faulknerian scene. He's eating dinner, and he's being served by a slave who happens to be his own son. You've been listening to excerpts from Murder Incorporated, Empire, Genocide, Manifest Destiny, Dreaming of Empire, Book 1. It's written by Mumia Abu-Jamal and Stephen Vittoria.
Context of White Supremacy. Gus T Renegade in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the system of white supremacy. Today's date, Tuesday, July 3rd, 2018. So I have been told. All-seeing overseer in a powdered wig. Mumia Abu-Jamal. I do think it's important, reading, more important than watching television. One of the best books that I read in 2016, The Slave Coast. That is, I forget the authors, they're suspected racists. They've been on the program. It's a white male and female, they're married, couple, white duo, who wrote the book. But oh my goodness, it has so much information, and they talk about Thomas Jefferson, and the critical point in talking about Jefferson and the main point of the book has a picture of a pregnant black female, and she's out in the field picking cotton or, corn, whatever it is, shucking and jiving, as they say. And their main theme is that rape of enslaved black females, that was the primary component, the driving component of the slave system in the United States, and perhaps even throughout the world, but certainly the United States. And they quote individuals like Thomas Jefferson, fondling fathers, as Dr. Welsing would say. They quote his words directly in talking about that it is a total waste if you have Negroes, particularly female Negroes, on the plantation, and they are not birthing children at a rapid rate, that it is a total waste of resources, that's one of the main ways of keeping the business operation going. This taken directly from notes on the state of Virginia, Jefferson's own work. So I would highly encourage folks to get that book, The Slave Coast, or at minimum read it. You can get it from the library. It is so much just tremendous detail. You can go back in the archives and hear when they were guests on the program. But rape, and it's not just rape, child rape, the rape of black children like Sally Hemings, required mandatory element of the slave system, enslavement of black people. With that said, this here broadcast today, actually, before I get to that, we had a listener request. Person writes in, would you please ask your participating audience for suggestions on locations in the Northeast and Southeast U.S. where, conscious, whatever that means, black folk gather for recreation, vacation. I have 5 days off starting July 4, and it would be very soothing to know that I am in the midst of like-minded humans. That word conscious, depends on what you mean. I was thinking that's a little vague because that's a pretty large, you're almost talking about the entire East Coast. I'm sure there are lots of places that you could hang out depending on what your interests are, how social you want to be, what type of weather you're into. Do you want to be at the beach or, what your interests are. So I've read the request. If there are any listeners in those areas, I certainly do not qualify, but if there are listeners in those areas and you have input, places you would suggest for hanging out, or places even that you would suggest avoiding for hanging out for this, coming few days or so, feel free. You can share or email and I will pass them along. This broadcast is specifically to give an opportunity for all of the folks who got a C.O.W.S t-shirt, part of the t-shirt experiment, counter-racist t-shirt experiment, just to see what would happen. Give an opportunity for some of the folks who got those shirts to dial in, because I know what my experience has been with post shirts and wearing, at this point, wearing, one of the versions of the shirt hundreds of times. I know what my experience has been. I've tried to talk about, some of the highlights, and particularly recently since I've been wearing it exclusively to yoga and going every day, and so getting lots of different opportunities to see people's responses. But I wanted to see, what's it been like for other people? Is my experience an anomaly? Has anyone been beaten or subjected to violence? I certainly would want to know that like immediately. No one, I do not believe, has ever over the years been like subjected to direct harm. Like I don't think anyone has said like a race soldier came out and attacked them, or started calling them racist names, or where they felt I've never had anybody email that. I've never had anybody call in to say that, over the 6 years or so since the shirt came out. So certainly, if that is the case, please let me know. But I did not think that that would be the case. Let me give out the number for folks. And this is definitely, you certainly can listen. I'm excited to listen. I'm hoping people that got the shirt will chime in. People that got the shirt will chime in. And people that got the shirt did not just get it to have and have in their closet, but actually got it and wore the shirt to see, what the response was from whites and non-whites. I'm excited, to hear that myself, to kind of get a collection of different responses, either version of the shirt over the years. I want to try to give a quick synopsis of the shirt, and again, kind of give the general response that I've got to the shirt over the years, because I think I can make an assessment now after 6 years. But the number 641-715-3640, the code 564943#. Press *61 if you would like to participate. Again, the spirit of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. This was an experiment, or is ongoing experiment, to see particularly to see how whites would respond. That was the motivating thought behind the T-shirts, just to see, how would whites respond with the shirt. But Dr. Welsing talked about the importance of predicting, making scientific predictions based on your understanding. When you have a theory about how something operates, about what might be happening in a given environment, you make experiments. You test them out. That was a part of the T-shirt process here. 6 years and ongoing. Number again, 641-715-3640. The code 564943#. Press *61 if you would like to participate. Please do not spectate if you got a shirt. Even if you got a shirt and didn't wear it, and I know there are some folks that are in that category. If you got a shirt, especially if you got a newer shirt and you haven't worn it, you've had it for, maybe 10 days or so, and you just have not picked an environment where you said, yes, this is where I want to run my experiment to see what is going to happen. Even if you just got one and you're still waiting, it would be grand if you could dial in. You could let us know what your plan is, where you want to wear the shirt, what you anticipate will happen. Even if you have had some apprehension about wearing the shirt, that would be good to hear as well. But if you got a shirt, certainly do not spectate. This is one, because like I said, I myself would like to hear. I definitely want to know if anybody's been like harmed, mistreated, or even felt unsafe wearing the shirt, because that's not been my experience. But even if it's been fun and you've been safe and it's just been interesting wearing the shirt, I certainly would like to hear what your experience has been. Hopefully folks will not spectate. Now, kind of a brief history. I'm trying to be concise with 6 years because it's been such a long time. I can't. Anyway, so more than 6 years ago, actually, longtime listener, supporter of the program, non-Mighty Wick, had a thought about doing a shirt that said, "Please treat me like a white person." He came up with the idea, shared it with me. We talked about it, and I was okay. If such a shirt existed, how would white people respond? And I thought so much of the system of white supremacy is based off of duping black people, being able to harm and mistreat somebody who is at a disadvantage. Dr. Kanban talks about where they don't really understand what's going on. In fact, what Dr. Welsing would say all the time, we are at the chessboard with a tennis racket and a football. We do not understand the rules of white supremacy racism. She would say that all the time. As such, I thought with the t-shirt that would send such a strong signal, even if it's stumbling and fumbling, that's such a strong, explicit signal. This Negro might be a little bit less confused. They are at least understanding that some of the problems and difficulties that they are having are because they are not white, and they are being mistreated because they are not white. Like, whoa, I'm going to be a little hesitant about practicing racism against this Negro. Might even watch him a little closely. That's what I thought, that they would be really, really nice, and that they would, really go out of their way to not be racist, to try to trick it like, oh man, not me. Woo. Yikes, buddy. Oh, I know. It's tough. Man, I heard that Al Sharpton. He's right. Like, I felt like they would be really courteous to not draw attention like, oh my goodness. Is he saying, whoa. That's what I generally thought it would be. So we, talked about it, Non-Mighty Wick and I. This was more than 6 years ago. Fast forward a year or so. So now we're talking 2012. I'm talking to Trav. He's a longtime listener, investor in the program as well. One of the folks, he and Non-Mighty Wick, who have been responsible for us doing a decade of counter-racist broadcasting. So I'm talking to Trav about this idea. At this point, I'm so victimized, I forgot that Non-Mighty Wick came up with this t-shirt idea, and more than a year had passed. This was not something where I was like, oh yeah, we need to do this right now. When we, he and I had this conversation about the shirt, the cows existed. Neither of us was thinking, oh yeah, we need to, make these shirts like right now and have listeners wear these shirts or anything like. It was just, hypothetical moving forward. So a year or more later, Dr. Trav and I having conversation, talking about blah, blah, blah. I remember the shirt. I'm like, oh yeah, that shirt. I misrepresent the idea thinking I came up with. It's like, oh yeah, I thought about that before, about having these t-shirts. Little did I know, Trav is into shirts. He makes shirts like we could do this overnight, man. Let's do it. I also did not figure that he would be really excited about, oh yeah, we should do this. This is great. We should do it. And he might be able to ring in and join us to give his recollection in case I have remembered things incorrectly. But I distinctly remember being very unenthusiastic about doing the shirts. Like, this was not an idea I was gung-ho about. I remember him being very excited, thinking this is constructive. We should do it. And, he had all the expertise and what have you to say, hey, we could do this right now. This wouldn't even be difficult to do. This is something that we could make happen easily. All we have to do is see if, listeners would be interested in such a shirt. And he was like, I'm sure there are at least 10, 20 people that would be willing to do this as an experiment just to see what the response would be. And we should do it. That's what, counter-racist. That was, to my recollection, his argument was in that vein to some degree. I was very reluctant, didn't want to do it. Another part, this was a long conversation, if I recall. Another part of that dialogue was changing the wording. The wording originally was, please treat me like I am a white person. And he was saying, well, I think there might be some confusion around the word treat. And his thinking was also that non-white people, specifically black people, would more quickly relate to and understand the word respect as opposed to treat. He said that's the word that's used most frequently with non-white people. I do not use the word respect. I think people that, if you listen to this broadcast, you don't hear me talk about respecting or disrespecting. That is not in the lexicon of Gus T as a Cow's host, or Gus T even in his personal life and travels. I articulated this to Trav, and that was another lengthy conversation, which he obviously won the first time around. And again, Gus T was not very enthusiastic about the shirts at all. Anywho, so we changed the wording to please respect me like I am a white person. We go to the COWS listeners. Are folks interested in wearing the shirt? Non-mighty wick. Oh, reminded that was my idea, but feel free, have fun with the shirts. Let's see what happens. We go to listeners. Are anybody, folks, interested in the shirt? Surprisingly, I think there were dozens. I don't remember the exact number, but dozens. It was more than just, like 5 people who wanted a shirt. We did this, and people even outside the states got the original shirt. The shirts go out. I get my shirt. I will confess I was a little apprehensive the first maybe 10, 15 times that I wore the shirt, just thinking, a little anxious if I had miscalculated. Whites are dangerous. If they might, try to sock me, or if it might become violent, if I might have to sprint. I was not doing yoga at the time, so I was not in super great shape. But things generally went exactly as I thought they would. If you go back in the archives, this is 2012 when the original version of the shirts came out. If you go back and listen to the archives, you'll hear I talked about wearing the shirt. Generally, I got very constructive feedback. It went exactly as I thought with whites. Oh, I love the shirt. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's awesome. There would be a few people who'd be like, oh, no, it shouldn't say that. It should say, please treat me like a human being, or something to that effect. But that was not common. The vast majority of whites, if they said anything, would be, oh, that is great. It's a shame you have to wear that, but that is all. And I want to tell you, racism is a big problem. I mean, white people, that is generally the type of thing that they would go into. Racism is, I'm not racist. Absolutely not. Al Sharpton is my man, I told you. But, and they were just going from there. Non-white people, I had not really thought about what the response with the victims would be. My thinking was about how racists would respond. Surprisingly, the response that I had from victims was overwhelmingly constructive in-person responses. I had a black male. I was trying to go to the library. He saw the shirt. He hugged me. He almost knocked me off my feet. I was so unprepared for a hug from a random black person, random black male, no less, that my balance was totally destroyed. He almost knocked me down. But he said, oh my goodness, that is amazing. Like, I would have black people in vehicles. They would just see me if I was just on the sidewalk or sitting outside, and they would drive by and see me with the shirt on. Oh my, right on, brother. Yes. Yeah. I was not prepared for that at all. I remember just overwhelming number of times wearing the shirt around black people, non-white, non-black people, and got a very constructive response. And in fact, times where I was someplace where we had an opportunity to sit down, like if we were at a function or something of that nature, even if we were on the train together, where we're going to be sitting for 10, 15 minutes or what have you, it prompted a lot of constructive dialogue about racism. One that I remember, and I think I shared this on the program before, I was at a birthday party, which is crazy because I hate birthday parties. I was at a birthday party, and I had the shirt on. It was mostly non-white people present. There were some whites, and there was a non-white, non-black male, so-called Asian. Never met him before. He was standing, we were in line at the food table. And he said, wow, I really like your shirt. Like, yeah, white people, they would make all kinds of racist jokes and and he and his friend just started talking about racism. And I was like, wow, that's, amazing. And I'm just listening, constructive dialogue. A little while later, same party, black male is there. He's a teacher, music teacher. And he's a music teacher at this really prestigious Seattle school. You can put that in quotes, prestigious. And he says, yeah, I like your shirt and blah, blah, blah. And he said, I had this black student. I'm still really concerned about him. He was, I think, like maybe the only black student at the school, or maybe one of two, very low number of them. And he said he was in my class, and it was one weekend. He was hanging out with some of his white classmates, and they started drinking one of the worst combinations in the known universe: whites, alcohol. Again, that dude that I'm so familiar with says so frequently, sobriety would be best. under conditions of white supremacy. So the story continues. Alcohol, whites, this young black male, I think drugs might have even come in as well. And anyway, after they do all this, get all intoxicated and what have you, surprise, the whites start practicing racism. It gets so bad, the black male gets fearful, rightly so, but he's so disoriented because he's been drinking, might have been drugs involved as well, that he can't get for help. He can't adequately get someone to assist him. And it just was a really, really ugly situation. And he said that he had a really difficult time recovering, that he just became really isolated. He didn't want to be around anybody. He kind of stopped coming to class. I mean, he just said, I'm still concerned. He said, I haven't even seen him in, some time. And all of this sharing of this very detailed story, which was 6 years ago, because I had the shirt on, him seeing that and saying, wow. And that's what I'm saying, that I had not even thought, that was not in my theory at all. Like, how are other victims of racism going to respond to this shirt? And the response that I had was overwhelmingly constructive. I had people that would know, I am not accustomed to just random people wanting to talk to me in a constructive manner and wanting to compliment something that I'm doing or what have you. And to have that consistently happen with that shirt, absolutely amazing. Even the second time around, and I'm talking about with the new shirt, please treat me like I am a white person. Since we did the respect, Trav won first time around, I said, for the second one, can we change it back to what the original thought was? Treat, no problem. We did it the other way. Let's see. Put treat on, and we capitalized the W in white, which is generally the way that I spell it when in reference to the white race, for that reason specifically. So we capitalized the W. Minor changes. Even with the change in t-shirt, exact same response from whites and from victims. In fact, it was so funny. I wear, as I've been saying all year, and I think that's the whole reason you all have been, that we got the second round of shirts, is I have been wearing my shirt so much. I've been doing so much yoga. I wear the shirt every day. I don't just wear it every day. I wear it 2 or 3 times a day because I'm going to yoga so much. And I wear it to teacher training as well. So I have many more opportunities to get responses and reactions. And I've been talking about it. I think that's how we ended up with the second round of shirts, as people hearing the responses so frequently on the program, like, what's up with these shirts? What's up with these shirts? Anyway, with the second round, it's been exactly the same. I was going to yoga class, and there's a black male who is in front of the yoga studio that I've been going to for training and been at for like the last 2 weeks or so, is right on Broadway. That is a major street in Seattle, major artery. They have lots of shops and banks. There's a community, just all kinds of things, right? And it's really close to downtown too. So, I mean, really, really busy area. There is a black male who stands about a block from the yoga studio and sells newspapers. He's there regularly. I go past him with the shirt on. This is like one of the first times that I wear it, with the newer one on, that he sees me. And he's just, wow. That is, oh my, brother, you got to come, brother, you got to come here. And he gives me the fist bump, and that is if I had a shirt in my hand, like for sale right then, bam, he would have took it. Like, where did you get that from? Oh my gosh, that is the greatest thing ever. Wow, I love that shirt. I love that shirt. Woo, that is just what I think I'd seen this guy before. I'm pretty sure I had, but he was just elated, absolutely elated about the shirt. I come through the next day. I don't have the shirt on. He does not say a word. No brother, no cousin, homie, nothing. I don't get a smile, dap, nothing. Didn't part his lips. Next time I come through, got my shirt. Oh my God, brother, that's the shirt. That's the shirt. I was like, wow, I guess I need to keep the shirt on if I want to get some love and respect from some of the black people. Respect. But that's been the response generally. I think I said over the weekend, I wear the shirt to yoga class. That can be a great way of gauging even other non-whites that are present. If, how white identified are they? Are they receptive to conversation about racism, white supremacy? Gorgeous black female who is in yoga teacher training with Gus T. Absolutely stunning. She was in class, and I think all the times, for some reason, all the times we had been in class before, I never had a shirt on. This is yoga, heated yoga at that. This time, I finally had a shirt on, cow shirt, of course. She said, "Oh, love the shirt. That's great." So right on, she might be receptive to racism. That's, a plus. We can have to revisit that conversation down the road. But it is great for, kind of gauging if a non-white person, what their understanding might be around racism, white supremacy. And I also think it's great with whites, just gauging their responses. I've talked about some of those that I've had at the yoga studio over the years. I even had one instructor, he just laughed. He just giggled and giggled and giggled, and then he finally said, "Oh, yeah, that's great shirt, great shirt." And in fact, I think I had a different white person. He did the same thing. He giggled, and then he said, "Oh, it's so sad that you have to wear that." Now, I wanted to ask, why exactly did you laugh if it's sad that I have to wear the shirt? But sometimes I'm not in a questioning mood. That's another thing. If you're going to wear this shirt, you got to be ready to have conversation at will, because people will talk to you. I am curmudgeon every day, all day, whether we are live on the air or not. And I am not always interested in counter-racist dialogue. I'm not always interested in questioning a suspected racist. Sometimes I'm not even interested in talking to another victim. I just want to, go get my Brussels sprouts and go back to my little cove and recuperate, prepare for the program, or prepare for, another yoga class, whatever is on the schedule. But you do have to be prepared for dialogue. That might mean questions. Thus far, over 6 years of wearing the shirt, and at this point, probably hundreds of times, I have never had an instance where I felt unsafe. I think the only thing that might come close, I think within the past month, a white person was in front of me and they moved what I thought was really quickly, even aggressively, and it looked like they were trying to get a better reading of the shirt, and then they saw it and they moved along. But that's about as close as it came, and I was, kind of prepared, but then, he moved along calmly, and that was that. And in fact, the incident today I thought was substantially more aggressive, and I did not have a shirt on at all. I was going to the afternoon yoga class, beautiful sunny day here in Seattle, and a white man, he was talking to another white man, and he says, just out of the blue, he says, "My brother." And he puts his fist out like we're going to do a fist. I've never seen this individual, total stranger. I looked and I immediately took evasive action to move completely out of range to the side. But I thought that was substantially more aggressive than anything I've encountered with the shirt, because he was really close to my kind of person. I thought we were just passing, and then all of a sudden it's, fist. And he called me. Anyway, but that's been my overwhelming response with the shirt. There have been, I don't think I've had very many, if any, of the, the shirt should be, please treat me or please respect me as a proud Nubian, melanated, African, black queen or king. I've had very few, if any, of that. I've had listeners who have said that they have been around black people who said that, which, VGQ. But as I said, the response has been overwhelmingly very, very constructive with non-white people. And I have not noted a difference at all with the wording of the shirt, the changing to please treat, whether it's please respect or please treat. The response has been absolutely the same. I have not detected any sort of difference between whites or non-whites. We did have people who wrote in responses about the shirt. In fact, I had one person who wrote in about the response weeks ago, but requested that I wait before discussing the details of what happened with the t-shirt, just to make sure that they couldn't be identified, which I totally respect. And I, said I would be happy to honor such a request, which I did. So I waited many weeks so I can share the response now. Okay. Okay. At this current event, I was volunteering for a film discussion event. The film was a documentary about Malcolm X, minister. About 8 people showed for the documentary, and one of them was a young white man. There was another event taking place at the same time. For this event, white people were excited and showed up in droves. It was the play called Annie. I believe it was a musical play. It was being held in the theater. I'm sure they had Annie played by a white female child, not Quinvejane Wallace. I saw a lot of white men, white women, and white children smiling. Most of them looked happy. The part above, okay, one non-white black adult female said she loved my shirt as she giggled. Prior to that, we talked for about 20 minutes. We were 2 non-white black victims of white supremacy talking about racism and exchanging different types of information. I shared information about the cows. Thank you kindly. As well as information about 2 books that have a lot of constructive information. One of the books is in your top 5. You have also interviewed the other author over 30 times, the Grandcestor. I have tremendous respect for this author. May she rest in power along with our other ancestors. A non-white black adult female and a non-white black adult male liked my cow's t-shirt. Both of them were smiling as they read my cow's t-shirt. They are also married to each other. I was asked where I got my shirt. I shared the info and info about where to listen to the cows program. I shared 2 internet websites where they can listen to the cows. I encouraged them to do their own research and pointed out the cows archive. Side note, they are beautiful people. I always see them at certain events supporting each other. I consider that to be practicing black self-respect. I concur. It is also great to always see non-white black males and non-white black females support each other. Absolutely. I suspect a suspected white supremacist took a picture of me while I was standing. She was sitting down while she pointed her cell phone in my direction. She held her cell phone in a position where most people would snap a picture. I suspected she texted another suspected white supremacist the picture of me. I might be wrong, but her behavior was odd to me. She had a smirk on her old, wrinkly face. She was holding the phone in that position. She was a wrinkly, old, gray-haired white woman wearing black prescribed glasses on her face. If I am correct, she did not have my permission to take a picture of me. I wouldn't ever give her permission to take a picture of me, whether we were in public or private setting. I would also like to note there was a bunch of white people around talking to each other as they waited in a long line. This is one of the most interesting of them all. A white man said, "Cool shirt." I didn't hear him well because I was preoccupied with trying to finish an important task, so I shortly stopped and asked him, what did he say? He repeated, "Cool shirt." I made the mistake of saying thanks. I should have said the word interesting. I will continue to improve my codification. This took place as he was in a rush to leave. If I could have asked 2 more questions, I would have asked, what do you find cool about the shirt? Do you take this shirt serious? Side note, he adds, this person was wearing all black. Interesting. He says, in fact, he was wearing black shoes, black pants, a long sleeve black button-up shirt, and a black snapback hat. I repeat, a black snapback hat. He was not wearing the hat backwards. He was wearing the hat forward, along with a black backpack. He also had a mustache. What style mustache? It was a horseshoe mustache, just like the style that thug Francis Gilroy Jr. wears on his face. There you go. Always great to have questions. If a white person says, they like the shirt or whatever it is, what do you like about the shirt? Why do you like the shirt? Those are always great questions you can come up with. Great opportunity if a white person comes up to you and you have the shirt on, great opportunity to ask questions. Even you could make a compensatory investment request, in fact, if they come up and are, chit-chatty. Next person wrote in, I I wish to share my experience of wearing the shirt in public. Before I'd even worn it, when it arrived in the mail, I had shown it to my spouse. She characterizes me as a troublemaker. Woo! Rest in peace, Madiba. She cautions me not to wear it in public, and especially when we travel the southeastern area of this so-called United States. A second reaction comes from a coworker and fellow victim. He also cautions me against wearing it once I describe the shirt. I want to pause right here. Shout out to the person's spouse, partner. That's not incorrect. That's logical in a system of white supremacy. That's one reason also that I, was not very enthusiastic. It was not like people were coming in droves saying, "Oh yeah, I need like 50 of those shirts like right now in my wardrobe. I can't wait to make that a part of my regular rotation when I'm, out and about on the plantation." And again, particularly in 2012. This was an experiment. I, hadn't even worn the shirt myself. I was just guessing that, no, I don't think you'll be in any danger. I think whites, in fact, will be on their best behavior to show you that they are not racist. I didn't factor the victims in again, but I didn't know. I could have been wrong. And even still, I could be wrong. Maybe, some cows listeners have been mauled and they just haven't reported to Gus, so that I don't know what happened. That's why I'm asking people to call in or write in so that I'll know this is what the case is. And, nobody who got a shirt has been victimized or what have you. It's been pretty consistent in terms of the response. But I don't think it's anything illogical about his partner's response, the co-worker's response, nothing illogical. We are in a system of white supremacy racism. And as the great Mr. Nero has said on this broadcast, white people kill for fun. Continuing. I'm reminded of the 4 Ds described by Mr. Fuller when a victim attempts to counter racism: discomfort, disappointment, disapproval, and death. Discomfort and disapproval seems to be demonstrated by these fellow victims' reactions to the shirt. As stated, we had planned to travel by car from New York City to North Carolina. I thought it a most opportune time to wear the shirt. This way, I reasoned, I would receive a wide range of feedback. My first interaction occurred at the auto dealership where I had my car serviced. One of the employees, a non-white black male, remarked, "I need one of those shirts." Walking the street, some looks from suspected racists, but no remarks. A second interaction with another non-white male, he inquired where he might obtain the shirt. I used the opportunity to direct him to the C.O.W.S podcast. Woohoo! Much obliged. He also requested to take a photo of the shirt. I granted his request. Whether he attempts to produce a shirt of his own is a question, but I did not ask. My third interaction occurred at a rest area in New Jersey. This was my first with a suspected racist, a middle-aged male who remarked as he passed me seated at a table, "That's a great shirt." I could detect no overt hostility nor sarcasm. I simply acknowledged by saying thanks. My next interaction was at a rest stop in Virginia. Walking past a white family, the female actually pursued and stopped me so that her mate could read the shirt. She also remarked it was a great shirt or something akin to the previous white male. The husband's reaction was the most interesting of the day. After reading the shirt, he made no remark but displayed a slight smirk. I'm reminded of the facial tic study discussed in the Wisdom of Psychopaths Kevin Dutton. Cal's book club reading is more important than watching television, the Grandcester. The smirk seemed to belie an undercurrent of aggression and possible disgust in my view, but I may be mistaken. I chose not to engage any further and continued on my way. The final interaction of the day occurred at a fast food restaurant. Health is important, Dr. Kanban says. The war of racism, white supremacy is occurring on our plates. Plant-based vegetables. Definitely don't want to be eating out. That is, wow, giving racists an opportunity to do all kinds of things to your food. Anyway, fast food restaurant. I did have concerns about having my food handled by anyone, especially whites. whilst wearing with the shirt on. Yikes! But I was able to keep the preparer in full view as they boxed the meals. The server appeared to be a non-white, non-black female, more commonly classified as quote-unquote Hispanic. Upon reading my shirt, she pointed at it and appeared to stifle a laugh. She did display a large grin. In contrast to the white husband from the previous interaction, she was visibly amused. Thanks for allowing me to share. I hope everyone has a pleasant evening. Dread 138. Much obliged for sharing. That seems consistent with the typical responses that I've had. My memory, in 2012, I was at a bar. I remember distinctly because Gus T does not frequent bars. See what I said earlier, sobriety would be best. But one of the few times in the last decade, I was at a bar and I had the shirt on. I'm at the table with a non-white female. At the table with a non-white female who was born in China. We're talking about the shirt. She says, I don't understand racism because I wasn't here. Like, I've been here a little while. I keep hearing about racism and even thoughts that I might be, facing racism, but I don't understand. Join the club. So we're sitting at the table. We have a white racist female waitress. She goes away. We're sitting next to white people. I think it's a white male, white woman, and I think there are others with them as well. We're seated at the table. I think I even talked about this on the program before. The white male, he sees the shirt. He smiles. Great shirt. He turns to his wife. He nudges her and he says, oh, honey, look at his shirt. She turns and she the look on her face. I wish I had a video. She turned, she looked, it was like she had a smile or at minimum like a neutral face. She turned and when she saw like, nigga with that shirt on, please respect me like I am a white person, the smile totally vanished. It was like, are you kidding? Are you serious? You wanted me to look at this nigger in this and she turned to, the disgust was so palpable. It was one of the best moments that I've had with the shirt. And at least for me, another clear indication who is the more intelligent in the system of racism, white supremacy. The white man, honey, what a great shirt. White woman, nigger in a shirt. Give me another beer. Number again is 641-715-3640. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. This is not, if you have a t-shirt, you cannot be a spectator on this one at minimum. If you have the shirt and have not worn it, and that would be great to know. I got the shirt, but I honestly don't think it's safe to wear, and so I've had it in the closet. Like, that would be grand. No problem there. Good to know. But if you've got it, if you've worn it, I would really be eager, excited, and appreciative to hear what your experience has been with whites, with non-whites. Have you felt nervous wearing the shirt? Have you felt unsafe wearing the shirt? I would really like to know in the spirit of counter-racist science. We will check the phone lines. I guess you can email as well if you are in a position where you don't think you can speak. If you want to take a few moments and write down, you can drop an email untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com, and we will read your commentary on the air. But if you have a shirt, definitely should not be a spectator. Going down to grab folks who dialed in with a hand up. First few folks with a hand up, line should be open.
Can I be heard?
Greetings, codified software developer in Wisconsin.
Hi. Hi, Gus. Good evening to you and to the callers and listeners. I do have a shirt. I did get a shirt. I haven't worn it yet because primarily most of the time when I'm around white people, it's at work. I don't think it would be prudent to wear it to work. But I do have a plan to wear it to. There's this knitting conference. I'm a big knitter. And there's this knitting conference called Stitches Midwest that happens in August. So I have a plan to wear it there because my mother and my aunt want to go. And there will be a lot of white females and anti-sexual white males there. So I'll be really interested to see their response. There probably will be a few non-white people there as well, so it'll be good to see their response. Two, I'm expecting that most of the people there will be sort of the quote-unquote bohemian types, quote-unquote liberal types, so they will probably not respond with hostility, but there will probably be some more overt racists there. So it'll be really interesting. I did tell my mother that I was going to wear the shirt. I showed her the shirt, and I told her that I was going to wear the shirt, and she got very excited. She's the one who introduced me to Mr. Neely Fuller and Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, so she's sort of on that counter-racist grind as well. So she is very excited about me wearing the shirt. My aunt, on the other hand, she might be a little nervous, so I'll see. She doesn't know that I'm going to wear the shirt, so I'll see how she responds. But this knitting conference is held in a smaller suburb of Chicago, so I'm expecting more middle-class white, a very large white population. If you look at their website, it's pretty much pictures of a sea of white people with a couple of black folks dotted around. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I have been a little apprehensive about wearing it. I thought about wearing it to my AA meeting, but I think my sponsor might respond negatively to that, and there is a sort of axiom in AA that says you don't bring outside controversy into AA, even though white people are practicing racism in AA, but you're not supposed to do that, so I might be admonished for that. So I haven't worn it there, but I am planning on wearing it next month. And that's all I have. I'll mute my line. Thanks.
That is intelligent. I cannot emphasize that enough. Just being smart. Like, this is not something to wear to work. This is not, I'm going to wear this in an environment where I know I could be in harm. Like, this is, you still want to use logic in all things about where you wear the shirt and that sort of thing, just to make sure that you're safe, especially, the first few times until you're comfortable. I think at this point I've worn the shirt so many times that if anything, I forget that I have it on, and that people, might respond or question, me having the shirt on or what have you, but definitely use logic. Again, you don't want to wear it to work, or even maybe to a place where your coworkers might see you. Perhaps that might be something to consider. But we will be eager to hear what happens at the knitting affair, to see how they respond to your T-shirt. Let's see. Other folks, if you have a shirt, and again, you cannot be a spectator on this one, you can feel free to email. I can read your commentary on the air. But if you got a shirt, let us hear what the response has been. Other folks with a hand up, proceed. Am I missing? The other folks are hanging out. I do see. Oh, there we go. Person who dialed in on the vote line.
May I be heard?
Greetings, Ivy.
Greetings. I wasn't actually expecting to, be heard so quickly into my earpiece. And if you could please give me just a moment to do that, because I don't want, feedback, and I'm sure no one else does either. I'm having trouble trying to. Okay, I'm almost. Okay. I have one as well, and I haven't worn it yet. And I have the respect me like I'm a white person shirt, and I want to get the treat me one, and I plan to get that as soon as I can. The thing is, I was when I heard about them or that they were available again for sale, I was just so eager to get one that I hadn't come up with a plan to like a strategy of where exactly I'm going to wear it and things like that. I think that may have later on crossed my mind once or twice, and then I just kind of forgot. But my main thing was just to get one, and so that I'll have one to be able to wear when I'm going to wear it. And the interesting thing is that I was actually concerned about what more confused non-white people, how they would react, especially when you said, I believe you said that a non-white person, I could be wrong, this could be a white person, but I thought you said that a non-white person, you were somewhere, and then they lied on you about putting items where they don't belong or something like that. And so I was just concerned about the hostility there with just being more confused, because I noticed that some more confused non-white people, they don't really like you speaking more accurately about racism. They want you to speak in my view, a shallow way and in a way that white people talk about racism. And I'm not trying to disparage non-white people at all. This is, racist man, racist woman, racist child is to blame for all of that. And as far as what I expect, I'm so grateful to hear the positivity that you spoke of. So now that has really quelled my concerns about wearing it around non-white people, because I'm not really all that concerned about white people's response. I mean, as long as they're not putting their hands on me, which is certainly possible. Since I'm not really concerned about that, I'm not concerned about anything else with them and then.
Oh.
Non-white people. And one thing that kind of what I remember when you talked about the positive response, it actually reminds me of a guest that you had on here. I forget what her name was, but she had her daughter have on a Black Lives Matter shirt, and a victim was really praising them for that. And I know that, whites, just from being whites and having the power that they have, they are going to get a response that they don't deserve, just an overreaction from victims when they seem to show some sort of support because of the Stockholm syndrome that we suffer from. And so I thought back to that when you had positive responses from non-white people, that, we can be, really appreciative when people show support, even when we do it ourselves, when it's not just white people, but when we do it ourselves. It sort of gave me a lot of encouragement there. And I think there was something else that I want to say, but I couldn't remember, so I'll move my line. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Gus.
Much obliged. Yeah, that has been a very pleasant and sustained surprise wearing this shirt. The overwhelmingly positive response. Like I would have a hard time, like over that's 6 years of wearing this shirt, and even if I just looked at 2018, just since January, me wearing this shirt to yoga, because I've taken hundreds of yoga classes this year, so I wear that shirt hundreds of times, or shirts now. It would take me, and I might not even be able to think of one time where I had a non-white person who said something nasty or discourteous, or it prompted an argument, or they said something, or even just said, I don't like the shirt. I don't think you should have. I can't even think of that. Like 99.9% of the time. Great shirt. Love the shirt. Excellent. Wow. Conversation about racism, like overwhelmingly positive with victims of white supremacy, even non-black victims of white supremacy. Other folks, thank you kindly, Ivy. Other person that dialed in, I think you might be on the vote line. Did you have commentary? If you have a T-shirt. Or you might be on
Hello, can we heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, apologies. Thanks for greetings to everyone on the line. Thank you for taking my call. I was gifted the shirt, so I definitely feel a responsibility to actually wear it. I have not worn it yet, but I do plan on wearing it. I live in a really small town, so I definitely don't, and unfortunately my job requires me to be kind of out and about. So I definitely don't feel comfortable wearing it where I live, so I plan on wearing it somewhere a little further away and slightly bigger. But I'm glad that you did speak on making sure to have, prepare yourself for possible interactions that you have, questions that may come up and things of that nature, because I hadn't really thought about that. And I will have to now make a list to see, what type of responses I will have with the shirt once I wear it. I do have some apprehension just because, honestly, where I live, I would be concerned about possible harm coming to me, but, that's an everyday occurrence with or without a T-shirt such as this anyway. So it's just what it is. But I am going to overcome that and will report when I actually do wear the shirt. But I'm very thankful to the person who gifted it to me, and like I said, I will be wearing it. I'll mute my phone.
Grand report back, and this will be ongoing. Certainly today is not the last time we will mention the counter-racist T-shirt. So if you have not worn it as of today, and you wear it, next weekend, or you wear it tomorrow for the big celebration, you can report back. Certainly the compensatory call-in, you can email, and I'll read it on the broadcast. But I at least wanted one broadcast on the record where we have a kind of collection of some of the different responses that have been generated over the years. Much obliged. Let us know when you get an opportunity to wear it. Let's see, person 0416. If you have commentary, line should be open.
Yeah, hey Gus, it's Travis. How are you?
Right poorly. Dr. Trav, the engine that made the whole T-shirt experiment roll. 6 years and still cranking out counter-racist T-shirts. Thanks to Trav for all of the hard work, because Gus I didn't want to do this at all. In fact, Trav is, any of the folks who are happy about the shirts existing, if you got one, or just happy that, these shirts are in the universe, you should thank Trav, because he was really eager to say, hey, we should do it. This is a worthwhile endeavor of time and energy, and has been extremely efficient at getting the shirts cranked out on time, delivered like Johnny on the spot. Kudos to Dr. Trav from the Bay Area. I guess first, can we fact check to make sure my memory is not failing me, because this is like 6 years of recollection. It was mentioned on the phone. I was not that eager about doing it. You were, hey, we should do it. This is constructive, and you have the know-how with the T-shirt business. We should do it, and we should change it to respect. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's how it worked out back in 2000. You said 2012.
That's what I think.
That was my business back then. So I was like, yeah, we can make this happen. This is not a difficult thing to do.
Okay.
So if people wanted it, though, we could make it happen. Like that. Then we just back then we went back and forth on respect and treat.
Yes.
Because
go ahead.
Because we knew that Mr. Fuller said you can't ask people to respect. You can't ask for respect. But we thought that people would have a better understanding if it said respect. So we went back and forth on it back then too. But evidently
Trav won. It wasn't that we thought people would have a better understanding of the word respect. Trav thought that black, and I think it was black people specifically. Yes, you thought black people specifically would have a better understanding, better connection with the word respect.
That's exactly it. It was treat, respect, treat. Because even when I was doing it, I was like, people identify so much with the word respect, and if they don't read Neely Fuller's writing, then they would probably they wouldn't understand treat. So yeah, I'll take that. I'll put that jacket on. I'll accept that.
Okay. And you had one of the originals, so you've had it for a while. What your general experience wearing the shirt with whites and non-whites?
Okay, well, my general experience is I purposely avoid being around white people. Like, I'm not around white people pretty much at all. I'm around family members, and originally when we pressed the shirt, I was being totally ignored. Like, I didn't get smiles, I didn't get a great shirt, I didn't get anything. I didn't get, you couldn't wear that, anything. So what I did was I took the shirt to a mall and asked one of the stores would they carry the shirt in the store as a product for sale, right? And the store was, we call it like a hip-hop store. It was run by a Filipino guy, so non-black, non-white. But he classified himself as white, and all of the guys that was in the store were black. When I walked in that store and I asked would they carry the shirt, I immediately got attacked by about 12 people. And we went back and forth. They started arguing with me, and it came out that the Filipino guy had convinced the black guys in the store that he was white. And I kept saying, but you're not white. You're not white. And ultimately, they joined him because he owned the store, and it seemed like they didn't want to catch any repercussions by agreeing with me that he wasn't white and this shirt was a good idea and they should carry it. And ultimately, they yelled at me and told me that I wanted to be white and I'm a racist, and that's why I'm wearing the shirt, and that's why I want people to carry the shirt like that. Then this redhead Irish-looking guy walked in, and I said, "Hey, I need to ask you a question." I said, "You're white, right?" And he was like, "Yes. Last time I checked." Then I pointed at the Filipino guy, and I said, "Is he white?" Right? And the Irish guy with the red hair, he said, "I would never think that he was white." So then everybody else in the store kind of looked at me. And I was like, "Hey, well, the white guy say you're not white. Will you put the shirt in the store?" And they were like, "Hell no, get out of the store. We don't want you." Like, they literally kicked me out of the store, But over the years, I would normally, if I wear the shirt, I don't get any reaction. People don't, I haven't had anybody run up to me or say anything. And that's to respect me like a white person shirt. I haven't worn the treat me like a white person shirt. I'm trying to wait for everybody to get their orders. There's still a couple of people that want one, so I don't want to take one for myself because that's just the way that I feel.
I respect that. Oh, did you have more? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was going to say that when I was wearing the shirt, though, I did have some reservations, not knowing what's going to happen, because people are at different levels of understanding when it comes to racism, and a lot of people are confused. So if I put the shirt on in the morning and I get ready to go outside, I still, get my heart start pumping a little bit because I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, even walking out to my car, like last year, my son was standing in front of the house, and the white dude across the street who sits on the board, the homeowners association with my wife, he called the police on my son for standing outside in front of the house. He was literally like 2 feet in front of the door. and he called the police on us. So, I do still have, even though I pressed up the shirt, but I feel obligated to wear it because I pressed it up. I can't press the shirt and not wear it. You know what I mean? But, I do have reservations, and I try to not wear the shirt when I'm, like, with my children or, with the wife. I try to do it if I'm alone by myself or at some sort of an event where I'm not with the children or my wife, because I don't want them to get caught up in something that they don't need to be involved in, if that makes sense, as the person that pressed and distributed the shirt.
Context of white supremacy. I definitely respect that. The counter-racist logic. Mr. Fuller advocates that all the time. Follow the logic. Number one, your experience at the store. Wow. That's why I use my mute button. I guess I should not laugh at another person being victimized, but wow. And again, following the logic. That is classic counter-racist jujitsu. Room full of non-white people squabbling, arguing, especially about racial classification. Let's end all the confusion now. Are you classified? And not even making an assumption there. Pardon me, sir. Are you classified as white? Yes? Oh, okay. Do you think he's classified as white? No? Oh, okay. And then the response, I've seen that before. They don't look at the white person to ask him questions. Well, how did you make that determination? They look at you with rage, like, oh, he's coming in here. What are you doing? Get out of here. We're not taking your shirts or anything. Get out. Like, victim, there's a reason I am curmudgeon, but that is classic counter-racist jujitsu. Bravo. I'm sorry, but that is your incident at the store. That is like the worst incident by far. Like, that's way worse than any episode that I've had with victims of racism. And I think that might even be worse than any incident that I've had with a white person. I think I told you all when the white man, about a month ago, I was going across the crosswalk and he had an ice cream cone. This was an older white man, like over 70. And he gave me the nastiest look you can imagine while licking an ice cream cone from an elderly white. Like, that's about the, ugliest moment that I had with my counter-racist t-shirt, like, by far, over 6 years, either version. It just out of curiosity, since you have understandable and very logical reservations about wearing the shirt and are mindful if you're going to be around your spouse, your child, because you don't want any harm to come to them. That's being a logical attempted father. What was your logic in saying, yes, we should do this, Gus? Like, it's easy to do, and we should do it. And in fact, Trav even said, because I said, we're out of shirts. We can't sell anymore. We're done. And he said, hey, it would be easy to press another round. Like, what was the logic, the reason why you said, yes, we should do this. We should print them up. Let's do it.
Well, my thinking is, it's never really about me. If people want the shirt and they think it's constructive, and it's not going to necessarily cause harm, like if you wanted to press up a shirt with, something that we know for a fact would bring harm to the people, then I would say no. But, if the people wanted it and we can make it make sense and it would help listeners, from the archives or in the future, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at sort of legacy projects. You know what I'm saying? By us doing this experiment and, telling the reaction, it could help somebody long after we're gone. So, I'll be 48 this year. Not 48, 47 this year. And for the last, 10 years, I've been thinking, what can we do that's going to stick around long after we leave, pass away or lead to the next wherever you believe once we die. Is this not something that could help people after we're gone? So that's the way I think about it, and it seemed like people wanted it, and I try to use the skills that I have, for those purposes. And secondly, I get ignored a lot, right? Just in life in general, because I ask people to do stuff that they don't want to do, like be responsible. And so when I get an opportunity to use my knowledge of my skill set, that makes me feel good as a, adult or black male or however you want to say it, because, we get treated so bad on a daily basis. So I guess one is a humanity reason and one is a vanity reason, if that makes sense. But humanity comes before vanity.
I respect that. Very, very logical, and can certainly relate to being ignored in the system of white supremacy. Sounds like you have not got your helping of black male privilege today. I think that's wild, just because these counter-racist T-shirts, the cow shirt, has become a quote-unquote legacy project, and I was so looking forward to this being all right, we're going to do the pre-orders, and this is going to be done. That was my thinking in 2012. Like, we are going to be done. We can move forward. We'll look at the results and, not be nagged about. And 6 years later, still chatting about the counter-racist T-shirts. Like, wow. I guess the conversation will, continue, because we have people that just got their shirts or shirts that have not even been fully delivered yet. So if you get your shirt in the mail, and are there shirts still left, Trav? Are there even a few, one or two maybe?
Yeah, I ordered extras because just being in the business and having, projects like this, where you have a pre-order situation, I ordered an extra few. So we have a couple in small, a couple in medium. Large is not available anymore. We have a couple extra large and a couple 2X still in stock. After this conversation, I think I might just go ahead and grab a extra large so I can, put my results into the pot for this run. But we do have a few still in stock. Like I said, even when I had like 18 of them still in stock from 6 years, because, just being in the business of printing, I kind of keep stuff around. I'm kind of a hoarder like that. So I just gave a girl a shirt that I had in stock for 20 years ago.
Wow.
She had an idea for something, and I was like, I have a shirt for that. So when I saw online that I guess you have been talking about the shirts, and I said, hey, if you guys want one, I got it. And I think you validated it, though. Nobody said anything to me until you validated it. And you was like, yeah, he's cool. And then,
wow.
So you are my white person. I treat you like a white person. You validated it. And then those 18 shirts went in like a week.
Oh, well, that's good. Right on.
And that's when we reprinted them. So, I say it jokingly, but like I say, I just kind of just look and see where can I be constructive and if it'll make sense. And that's how we led to this conversation now. Because like you said, I thought we were done too. I thought it was going to be 2012. They're printed. I'm going to sit on these 18 shirts forever. And here we are, right?
Context of white supremacy. Here we are. If you got a shirt, you should chime in. You should definitely not be a spectator. Like, you can at least drop an email if you're someplace noisy, or if you got a shirt and you didn't wear it. Like I said, that is constructive, feedback. If the reason that no non-white people got harmed is because people just bought the shirt to have for a souvenir and didn't wear it, and that's why nobody got harmed, well, that's fine. That would be good to know. Like, we got the nutty shirt just to support, and I have no intention of ever wearing this out in public anywhere. Great, no problem. Just let us know that. But if you got it and have worn it, or you have intentions to wear it or even reservations about wearing it, please let us know. I'm even trying to think because I've accumulated so many different incidents. Like I try to share as many of them as I can. I think this week I had the shirt on. I think that was Sunday. I had the shirt on. I was leaving the yoga studio, and it was a pretty black female coming into the yoga studio. I hadn't seen her before, and she was stymied. And she looked like she wanted to say something, and she just kept looking at me. She was looking at my shirt specifically. I'm not sure if she was speechless because of the messaging or just seeing a black male coming out of a yoga studio or what, but she was really stymied. And it took her about a good 30 seconds of staring and looking, and then she finally said, "I like your shirt." I said, right on. I would have stopped. I was very busy. I had, lots to do. I would have stopped and questioned, but, hopefully I'll bump into her at the studio again. But I try to share as many of the instances as I have since I have the shirt on or shirts on now so frequently. Also, I think just intentionally, I deliberately wear that shirt to teacher training. Those environments, it's me and the cute black female. We're the only two non-whites, or it might be one other non-white person present, but it's a white-dominated environment. And I do think wearing that shirt has sent a message to the whites present in terms of how I feel, because it's like palpable. The distance between us, like they keep it real, like professional courtesy, which I'm completely down with, and especially being in an environment where I do not care. I'm not looking to work with you all, audition, nothing. Like I'm wearing that. I'm in fact intend on wearing my COWS t-shirt when we have to teach a class at the end in order to graduate. I intend on wearing my COWS t-shirt. It might be the new one. I suspect it will be the new one because the old one is too large, but I'll have my counter racist t-shirt on. And again, any listeners, if you think you'll be in the Seattle area, it's the third week of August. I have to teach a class to graduate. I would much rather have non-whites present to balance out the white racist energy of the environment. You can wear your t-shirt to the yoga class. That would be spectacular, and we'll get down for an hour. But I will let you know how that goes, and I will report as I continue to wear my shirt throughout yoga teacher training. Number again, 641-715-3640. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate, or it's really more, definitely if you have a shirt, definitely chime in. I reckon if folks have a question or a thought, that's fine as well. But certainly if you got a t-shirt, would be grand to hear your thoughts. I'll check the switchboard. Any of the other folks that are with us have a question, thought that they want to get in related to the t-shirt experiment?
I do. Can I hear it?
Yes, ma'am. Ivy?
Gus, did you finish your sentence or did I interrupt you?
I finished my sentence.
Oh, okay. First of all, I don't think I greeted anybody the first time I spoke, and so since I don't remember, greetings to you, Gus, and to everyone on the line. Man, I'm going to save the best for last. No offense to you, Gus. So I'm going to start with you. Thank you so much for just all you've done with this program, and with just the shirts over the years, and even just, announcing that. And shout out to Namadi Wick for coming up with the idea, and for you doing this program tonight. I was really eager to participate and to listen to this particular program, and for just sharing all of your experiences. For Trav, man, he's awesome. Like he is so incredibly accommodating. And I remember I took note of this when the shirts were discussed. I believe it was on the thread on your Facebook page, Gus, when you were talking about the race soldier with the ice cream. And what I saw from Travis, I saw him just immediately, it was like he was reading the comments, excuse me, and he immediately seemed like he jumped in to accommodate people, because a lot of people were, clamoring for these shirts. And he just jumped in so fast, it seemed like, to accommodate everyone. And when you contact him on Facebook, and I'm not saying do that, go to the email, but I'm just saying wherever you contact him, if you happen to know certain contact information, he will just go back and forth with you, and he'll be extremely accommodating, and he'll give you tracking numbers, and he'll keep up, and he'll just be just extremely accommodating. Like his customer service game is just off the charts. I can't think of another word. And I'm even interested in buying more shirts from him, since he talked about he has shirts for different types of I guess situations, for lack of words. And so I'm thinking, like, if I'm thinking about a different type of shirt, I'm going to go to him first, and I look forward. I hope I can get a treat me like a white person shirt from him before they run out. But I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Just thank you so much, Travis, for just being awesome, and thank you, Gus, and I'll get my line.
Bravo, Trav. Thank you, Ivy. Bravo to Trav. As I said, he was extraordinarily proficient, professional in getting the shirts out. 2012, and once again, 6 years later, 2018. Is there, I know for the latest round of shirts, the email that I gave out was cowsshirt, singular, @gmail.com, cowsshirt@gmail.com. Is that the best way to get in touch with you if folks have questions about that shirt or any of the other various garments you have collected over the past few decades?
Yeah, if people want to get a cow shirt, definitely contact through cow shirt, or some people hit me through Facebook. I even had one person contact me through Twitter, right? Which is funny. Because, you don't know, but I'm not on Twitter. I have a Twitter, but I'm not on Twitter. So to get a message through Twitter, I was like, okay, we got something. For other shirts because I'm a graphic artist. I was a graphic artist from 1994 to like 2012, and my shirts are pretty much online. If people want to look at shirts, it's like maybe 1,000 different designs online for different reasons. Because as a graphic artist, I can just design what I like and send it to cafepress.com. So if people are interested in looking at some other shirts, I don't have them all in stock with me, but I do have shirts available online at cafepress, cafepress.com/Trav Lyrics. So you say TRAVLYRICS. Also, cafepress.com/buy Trav Lyrics. It's a lot of stuff. I mean, I got some counter-racism stuff. I got, different brands that I've created over the years. I've got brands for other people who had come to me and wanted to do some shirts, because sometimes people they have brilliant ideas but no money. So what I do is I'll create a design for them and then create a store for them and tell them that all they have to do is market and promote it and let the white people press it up and ship it and handle the customer service. And then, we mark it up $10, and then me and that person will split the markup. So, like I said, I try to use my talent or resources to help other people, provide opportunities and things like that. So the stuff that I have with me in my personal museum, there's no way that you could know what I have. I usually wait for the right moment to bring that out. It'll be better if you just go to the website and see. I call it more of a museum or a gallery, because I'm an artist first. T-shirt is just a platform. It's just a canvas for me. That makes sense? Gus?
Extremely logical. cafepress.com/Trav Lyrics. The gallery is immense. Putting it on Facebook, tweeting it as we speak. cafepress.com/Trav Lyrics. Right
And
on.
if you do buy Trav lyrics is a different set of designs.
Mm.
So, I think it's like haiku related. I started doing some art, poetry type stuff, but so that's a different site though. cafepress.com/buy Trav lyrics. And I did a hashtag buy Trav lyrics, so you can look at that too. So I don't know how you want to put it out there, but I appreciate everything because my business works better when I have somebody marketing for me. If I have to do the talking, although I'm kind of literate, I can speak, I'm articulate, but for some reason, when I have to do the talking, it doesn't end very well. So, Gus, you're my guy. I appreciate you.
Well, glad we could help out in some way, and there's definitely reciprocity because I think a lot of folks they did want the shirt. They were way more eager about the shirts than Gus T, and I'm sure a lot of folks they are very, very thankful that you cajoled Gus into doing the shirts, and then were Johnny on the spot second time around. That indeed we can do a second round, do it easily, and proficiently got everybody their T-shirts, including Gus T. Got me my shirt within a matter of days. I was able to switch it up, and now I have two that I can wear and annoy everybody at my yoga studio. Let me check to make sure we are not missing folks again. If you got a shirt, even if you didn't wear it, definitely you should chime in. Certainly want to hear from folks down the road as you get more opportunities to wear the shirt to see what happens. I would hope if you feel unsafe, like something could happen from a white person or from another victim of racism, I would hope you let me know, because that was some of the apprehension I had as well. Like I was guessing back in 2012, like I didn't want to be in some way responsible for a shirt and then having victims of racism wear it and something happened to them, and it was because of a goofy idea I was related to. So definitely let me know if you even feel unsafe wearing the shirt. That has not been my experience, and even people that wrote in over the years back in 2012 and more recently, I cannot think of anyone who they said that they were unsafe, or I had to run, or this was a really anxiety causing situation that I was in. I cannot think of that at all. I think the most I can think of is I think I did hear a few black people say that they were questioned, like, what you should have a shirt that says, respect me like a proud black African, that type of red. But they weren't nasty. They just said that they think that would be better. I heard a few of those. That's about it. I don't recall anybody saying that it was a problem, that it was a danger to have such a shirt on, which I do think is important. I think the dangers of white supremacy are real, absolutely, but I also think that sometimes as a result of terrorism, we become hesitant to do things when sometimes there is not as much to fear as one might think. Sometimes there's nothing to fear at all, and I think as a part of developing courage. I know that's something that we've talked about on this program over the years, and how you develop courage. Sometimes I think it's good to do things that you are not comfortable with, to do some things that you think might even be risky if it is for a constructive purpose. Not talking about being reckless, but sometimes something that is constructive to do might be dangerous, might be said. Some of the sit-ins and things that they were doing back in the 1960s, dangerous, but we think this is for a constructive purpose. Hope that it's using an analogy, always dangerous, but I hope that makes sense, and I would stand by that. I think that is extremely important. I think we are going to have to foster courage in order to replace white supremacy with justice, and if wearing a T-shirt that reveals a little more truth about the system of racism, white supremacy is a way of building courage, hey, that's one way of looking at it. And I can say, at least for me, one thing, I think, Ivy, a few weeks back or days back, recently, you were talking about how do you not allow your emotions to get the best of you if you're in a situation where you are with whites and they might be helpful. They might even be nice to you. They might even do something that is helpful, that is constructive for you. How do you make it so that you maintain your counter-racist focus. That's even though this individual is doing something nice for me, they're still a race soldier, and I should not lose sight of that, even though I appreciate whatever they're doing for me. The shirt is a wonderful counter-racist mnemonic for me. It is a tremendous reminder for me, the context that we are in. It does not allow me to have moments where I forget, because the shirt, even if I'm, having a moment where I'm not thinking, the shirt is messaging to everybody that I'm around constantly and influencing how they talk to me and what they talk to me about and everything. I mean, it really helps me stay in focus at times where I might be thinking, oh, I'm just, we're at the yoga class, we can have fun and stretch out. Like, no, that's not what this is at all. Like, for me, if anything, I love the fact when the white terrorist kicked me a few months back, and then she stalked me, that when I got up after class and was getting dressed, that was the shirt I was putting on. Please respect me like a white person. That was the shirt that I was putting on. As this whole conflict unfolded so that everybody is looking, that's what they're seeing when they're looking at a black male in a confrontation with a race soldier white woman. I think it can do a tremendous job of making you remain codified. I think for a lot of us, it can be difficult to remain codified in how you speak, how you think, asking questions, and particularly questioning whites. Those can be things that are difficult to do, and particularly to do on the spot where you have to think fast. Wearing that shirt can give you opportunities to work on all of those skills, asking questions and developing some courage. I could be in error, but at least that's been my experience. I guess for Trav, maybe not, because he said people haven't said anything to him when he's wearing the shirt for the most part. So maybe not so much for him, but that hasn't been the case for me. For me, it's been lots and lots of conversations, responses, and interactions, mostly on the, I don't want to say positive, non-harmful. I'll put it that way. Anybody else, questions, comments they want to make sure they get in related to the cows t-shirts? We nab everybody. I hope we do not. Did somebody have commentary, or folks just listening?
Yes, but I didn't want to interrupt you
Oh, proceed.
because no one else was speaking up, so that's why I jumped in. I wanted to actually ask you the, and I hope my background is not a mess, but I wanted to ask you, had you considered the refined racism that white people could practice against you at the yoga teacher training by you wearing that shirt? And what I mean by that is they, like, a lot of times, black people are enrolled in college for being a doctor and all types of things like that. And what you see is you see a lot of enrollment, but you don't see a lot of graduation. Not because black people are stupid or anything like that, but because white people are practicing racism. They're not passing us, and they're not graduating us, and they're giving us grades that are wrong and that are false and things like that. And so a way that they could retaliate against you is they could, make up some reason to not pass you. And in fact, that happened to Imhan DC at first with his, I believe it was real estate license, where they didn't want to pass him, and it was unjust. It was unjust circumstances, and it was because of, I think it was because supposedly he was not giving this white woman enough business with his influence at a church that he worked at, giving her enough business, I guess, as a real estate person or something like that. So just saying that to say, had you considered about the refined racism that they would practice against you, that they'll smile in your face, but then they'll hurt you even more than just calling you a nigger or whatever supposedly overt or outward acts of racism?
That is certainly logical to consider. The whites at teacher training, they are it's palpable that they see me as a nigger. That's the way that I view it. Like, they do not do a great job of hiding like, even just the general treatment. Like, I can be very specific. Like, they have a lot of authentic warmth and a very excited reception for other white members of our teacher training team that I do not get. Like, when I was at the studio today, the studio manager, who is also the lead teacher for teacher training, and the assistant teacher, they were both present, and I got like a, hey, that's it. Like, not only am I in teacher training, like, I have an unlimited membership at this yoga studio, and have taken almost 100 classes. I think by the end of the week, I will have taken 100 classes at this yoga studio in this calendar year alone. 100 classes at this one studio, and it wasn't a, oh, hey, what's up, Gus? Good to see you. Great, you're an in-house teacher. Hey. Anyway, they absolutely could do exactly what you said. They do that to a lot of black people, regardless whether they have a counter racist T-shirt or not. But absolutely, I have thought of that. I have been making an effort to be very meticulous, because they have exact guidelines for what is required to graduate the course. So I've been very meticulous at going over those guidelines and checking things off as I get them completed, backing up my files, like for assignment. Like, we have a lot of essays that we have to write, so backing up those essays, so when I hand in assignments, if something gets lost, like, oh, you didn't hand in that? Like, whoop, whoop, whoop. Yes, I did. And regardless, boop, let's just print out another copy. I'll email it to you if we can be paperless, because I got that backed up, no problem. So just trying to be meticulous with getting everything checked off and completed, the classes, all of that, just trying to make sure that I do everything, cross every T, dot every I, as they say, so I can minimize their effectiveness at practicing racism to deny me my degree. They still could do that if they want to, but I'm at least trying to do everything I can to be exemplary going through the class to get my certificate without incident. I think that's the way I've been phrasing it.
Okay, thank you very much. I find your commentary very constructive, and that can help people also on the job. And the last two things that I wanted to quickly say is that you mentioned one of them. I meant to say that another part of Travis's incredible customer service is that he makes, in my observation, every effort to get the merchandise out to you and the products out to you very quickly. And in my view, the job he did on the design, I like it, and I think it's very good. And I'm in my line. Thanks, Gus.
Much obliged, Ivy. cafepress.com/Trav lyrics. Context of White Supremacy. We had another listener who wrote in about the T-shirt experience. I don't know what part of the world this person is. I guess if you email, if you're comfortable putting in what part of the world, like, you don't have to give the exact city if you don't want to, but that might be helpful just to see if there are any regional differences to how, the shirt is being received. But anywho, that's for future reference. Listener writes in, I've worn my please respect me like a white person shirt once, and the reaction was very interesting. In a place of business I had to visit, a black male asked to shake my hand and to take a picture of the shirt. I agreed. He and his black male colleagues seemed to be very excited to see me wearing the shirt. This was my third time in that place of business, and I was never greeted by anyone with that kind of respect, in quotes. As for the white people at the business, they seemed to be very cautious and even looked nervous, as if they've been found out. The non-white black people were very nice and smiley. This is a business with about 50-50 white and non-white employees, probably a total of 50 employees and another 30 or more customers. I will be wearing the shirt more. Very interesting to see the reactions. That sounds pretty standard and it goes back to the core, the logic that was underpinning my thoughts about this from the very beginning, more than 6 years ago when there was no shirt, that a big part of white supremacy racism is victims being confused. That's the racist jokes. Whites love it when they can practice racism and we are duped. We are not really grasping what's happening. We don't really understand what's going on. That's what they love the most. When you start acting like, oh, I got it. I know what's going on. It's you. The problem is you. White people, racist man, racist woman, that takes a lot of their fun away right there. Doesn't mean that they're not going to practice racism, but it does take a lot of the fun away, and sometimes they will even be a little bit hesitant to practice racism because it's like, dang, we've been found out. Dang, I'm going to have to wait and see if we can get another nigger in here who, they don't quite know what's going on, then we can go back to having more fun. That was the logic underlying the shirts. Again, if I am wrong, and that has not been the case when you have worn the shirt, definitely call in or write in. Let us know, people that, are still getting your shirts and what have you. Let us know. And this has been consistent. There are people all over the world who got this shirt. Isn't that correct, Dr. Trav?
Yeah. We shipped to Europe, and I think I shipped a couple of them to
Japan,
Africa. Japan,
wow.
Yep. We shipped at least one to Japan.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's been consistent. I know we had a listener write in from Austria where I think some black people, even in Austria, I think some black people said, you should have got one that said, treat me like a proud, melanated African black. Did get some of that, even other side of the world, but pretty much the same response from whites on the other side of the planet also. So consistent response. That's something to factor in with our counter-racist results. The caller, Irie, did you have commentary that you wanted to share?
Hello, good evening, everybody. This is Irie. I was calling to ask 2 questions, but I want to make a comment really quick. It sounds like the shirt is a great way to, like Mr. Neely Fuller was saying, minimize contact with white people that really, wouldn't be, when something wouldn't be constructive from them anyway. It's like, it sounds like a good buffer. And I will be ordering the please, I want the please treat me like a white person shirt first. The first question I had for anyone was whether they were asked what kind of white person, because I had a talk with someone that is white, and they were like, well, what kind of white person? Like a rich white person, or so on and so forth. And then the second question I had for Trav is I'm also a graphic designer, and I was wondering, since he's been doing it longer than me, I started in 2002, if there were professional organizations that were strictly African American, or at least non-white, because the only 2 that I know of are lily white, and the events that I've been to for both have been highly uncomfortable and unfortuitous. And I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you.
Trav, you want to field the second question first?
Yeah, I don't know. As a graphic artist, I was active from 94 to 2012, and I was really independent, a free agent, and I was mostly tied to the music industry because I also was I owned a record label and was an artist. Still am, really, but I was tied directly to the music, so I had a built-in market. And then music went away from record design covers on the level I was in, so I went into beauty salon and barbershops and real estate. So I didn't plug into any organizations per se. And one of the reasons I didn't plug into any organizations was because I just felt like they didn't want me in there. Because I wasn't classically trained. I didn't speak that language. I was a guy who needed an album cover in 1994, and instead of paying somebody, I bought a computer and did it myself, which led to business. So whenever I would get around people who were classically trained, it just it would turn into something that I was uncomfortable with. So I can't answer the question about organizations. Just, being in places like Staples or Kinko's or somebody who's in corporate America that's a graphic artist, I didn't fit with those people. So even if there was an organization, I probably wouldn't have been a part of it and probably would end up suggesting not. And that is not as a black thing. That's as a just, I wasn't classically trained thing.
Can I ask one question to you, Trav, just out of curiosity?
Yeah.
When you said the people, that they treated you a certain way, were some of those people that were of what you consider classically trained, were some of those people that were rude non-white as well, or what was it a mix? Was it white people, non-white people, both?
It depends where I was. If I was, say, if I was in, say, like a Kinko's or a corporate America place where I needed to use a computer or a printer or get my work printed or pick up a job, because as a graphic artist, I wasn't a printer, right? So I would have to outsource my work and then go pick it up. Those places were predominantly white, and I would have to go in, and they would sometimes change my work, and that's not what I want, and then they would try to throw around big terms and things like that. Try to make you feel less than. But then sometimes I would go around where you would have some, back in the 90s, graphic design was really big. Like you could charge, $1,500 for something that you can do on your phone today. And there were black companies. I'm here in the Bay Area, so we had a couple big ones. And they did kind of the same thing, but that was more of a competition thing. They wanted to make me seem, I felt like they wanted to make me seem less than, because that's the culture of Bay Area competition. Everybody's more famous than you at all times in their own mind. So I hope that answered the question.
Thank you, it did.
Right on. Was the other question just about the shirt being a buffer to minimize contacts with whites that you don't want to have them around you anyway? Was that the first question actually?
No, it was a comment that to me it sounds like from what some of you have said that people were distant. When they saw white people, they were distant, which sounds like it's a good thing because they probably wouldn't have been a constructive situation in the first place. But the question was, I was wondering if anybody was asked what kind of white person they wanted to be treated like, based off the question that was asked to me by a white person when I told him I was going to get the shirt. I've known him for a while. And he was like, well, what kind of white person? I'm like, I wonder if anybody has been asked that.
I have not been asked that question over 6 years. I have not been asked that question. And I think the reason is because that whites know the same thing that Mr. Fuller said. Like, if you're white, that's about it. Like, if you're white, you're going to be treated better than a non-white person, even white poor people. And that's when, if somebody said that to me, like white, that's what no white person has said that to me. White people, they know. They have data that shows, even if you look at white poor people and compare them to black poor people, white poor people are treated better. They have data where they were talking about employment data where a white person with a criminal record is more likely to get a job than a black person with a college degree and no criminal record. Like most white people, every white person, they cannot be ignorant about racism, white supremacy. They know that. So that's why I've never had a white person say that to me, ever. Any of the other folks who, I don't know, I guess Trav, anybody else have? I guess Trav, it would be no, because he said people generally don't say anything to him when he has the shirt on.
Yeah,
Gus, may I ask, did she say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just agreeing with Gus that I didn't have that.
Ivy?
Did she say a white person asked her that question?
I think so. Ma'am, did you say?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That it's not funny at all. It's terrible. That white person was practicing racism, and they know good and well that that's exactly what they were doing, based on exactly what Gus just said. That they know good and well that this is not about class. This is not about gender. This is not about any of that. This is about racism, and it don't matter like if you rich or you poor or whatever the case may be. It matters if you are white or non-white. And that person was trying to, in my view, they were trying to confuse you and try to make it seem like there's some type of, like, ultimately, like, the situation is not what it is, that this is not even about color at all. When you say what kind of white person, you're making it not about color, you're making it about personality or money or whatever the case may be. That person was trying to confuse you and trying to practice racism and practice deception and lie about what exactly is going on, that this is mistreatment based on color. And I'll mute my line. Thanks, everyone.
May I respond?
Yes, ma'am.
I agree wholeheartedly. Fortunately for me, I wasn't confused by it because I mentioned before in another show that this is a white male that seeks tragic arrangements, and he's not able to fully indulge and engage in the benefits of racism, white supremacy. So for him, he considers himself a certain type of white person, obviously. And I think that's where, it probably was stoked a little bit of anger or maybe even a little bit of envy in him. Oops. Just saying, I know that he's confused and he also sees tragic arrangements. So I know that, it wasn't necessarily from the best place when he was asking that. But yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I actually remember you. You actually helped me out with how do you maintain your emotions when white people are nice to you. So, yeah, I remember you. And thanks again. I'll mute my line.
You're welcome. I'll mute my line as well.
Red in Nevada, did you have commentary you wanted to add? You should be with us.
Thank you for allowing me to share. I've ordered my shirt, so I'm going to try to be courageous. And once I sent the request to order a shirt, so I'll keep that in mind, especially, hopefully I'll wear it. But I did look at the website, the cafepress.com /Trav lyrics website, and I did see a shirt that was really pretty funny. I liked it. It said, no, the other N word, like I-N word. So I thought, that's kind of nice if people, definitely want to take the time to look at the website and look at everything that he has there. That's all I wanted to add, and I'll mute my line. Thank you.
Much obliged, Red. Can give us the report from.
I appreciate you.
Give us the report from Vegas. How the whites in the desert respond to the shirt. Oh, the caller who wrote in who said that the black people wanted to take a picture with him, and he'd never had that type of respect before. He said he was calling from Georgia, so down south. That was the response. I will continue to add. I'll just, I guess I'll read. If people email in, I'll read them on the compensatory call-in or wherever as we go, responses as people get their shirts or as people wear their shirts. If you wear it repeatedly and you get different responses and that sort of thing. If you practice questions, like if you maybe take the time, you can think of 5 questions that you could ask a white person if they say something. At least for me, from what I've been told, likely if they say, hey, I like your shirt, that's a great shirt, anything that's like that, what do you like about the shirt? Why do you like the shirt? Are you a white person? Do you think there's a system of white supremacy racism? Great opportunity, as I said, for a compensatory investment request. Oh, you like the shirt. Think of something constructive that you could use. Great opportunity to practice, hone your skills at questioning a white person and thinking on the spot, because it'll be random. You never know when, someone will stop you. And same thing with victims. You could be thinking of, what you want to share. You could give them opportunity. These are some books you could check out. Mr. Fuller's information, Dr. Welsing's information. Check out Trav's website. Anything. If it's a non-white person, what information would you want to share with them? You could be thinking of that. Great opportunity to get some practice sharpening your skills discussing white supremacy, racism with whites and non-whites. Any other comments, reflections? Folks want to make sure they get in on the t-shirts.
Hey, Gus, can you hear me?
Heard both Trav and I think that was Ivy. We'll nab Ivy first and then get Trav.
Oh man, thank you so much. Travis spoke up before me, but I appreciate that. I was just gonna quickly ask what kind of. Well, first thing I want to say, I'm so glad Red's on the line. Red, I listened to the compensatory call in, and you thanking me for my analysis of your name. It's very apropos. It's very fitting. Thank you for your commentary on the dog food epidemic, the junkie epidemic. Gus, my question to you was, what kind of compensatory request do you think we could, and I understand if you can't think of any examples, but I'm just asking if you could, that we could ask, to white people as a segue, for lack of words, in talking about the t-shirts and online.
I mean, it could be as simple. I know I've heard this directly from Mr. Fuller, where with whites, you just have a list. These are specific things that I need done. Is there anything on this list, since you think that this is a great shirt, recognizing the fact that I am mistreated in a system of white supremacy because I am not white, I would like to make a compensatory investment request. I have a list of, these are 10 problems. Are there any problems on this list that you would be willing to help me solve right now? Like, look at the list. Oh, yeah, I can solve number 2. Like, give me your email address and, whatever needs to be done. We can get this solved in the next 24 hours. No problem. Great. Like, you could just have a list that's ready. You got my shirt. Bam, put your list in your phone and whip it out. Boop. Compensatory investment request. These are, 10 problems that I have. You say you're a white person and you recognize white supremacy as a problem. I'd like to make a compensatory investment request. Look at my list. Any problems you could solve. I think that would be one way that you could do it. If it's something that you're thinking of immediately that they could invest in that would be helpful, I would just ask them that. Like, I feel like that is this. If it's a white person and they're saying that that's a great shirt, they like that shirt or what have you, that is some form of acknowledgement that white supremacy racism is a problem. I would verify that they are indeed white. White person that says racism is a problem, here's a way that you can help. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. Thank you very much, and thank you for letting me go first, and thank you so much, Travis, for yielding the floor and letting me go first as well, even though you spoke up first.
Dr. Trav.
I was just going to say that I need to get off the line because I'm going into a meeting right now.
Business is important. Much obliged. Thank you so much for being just professional and outstanding in getting the shirts out and sharing your time with us this evening, Dr. Trav.
Okay. I appreciate everybody. And you guys have a best evening if possible.
Absolutely. You too, sir. cafepress.com/Trav Lyrics. Check out the site. Just 6 years being super helpful in getting these shirts out and correcting and sizing charts so that people can have some sort of idea of, the fitting of the garment. Trav has just been outstanding. I don't think we would have the shirts if it were not for Trav. Some people, I'm sure, like that would probably be better, but either way, Trav has been great. Kudos, and visit the website or drop him an email, cowsshirt@gmail.com, and he will respond pronto about getting you your shirt. And again, he does have a sizing chart. If you have any confusion to make sure that you get a shirt that fits, just ask him, hey, can I check out the sizing chart? And bam, he'll get it to you pronto. Anything else folks need to make sure they get in? Caller, I think it's retired firefighter, or no, not retired firefighter. Caller at 4362. 4362, did you have commentary?
Yes, good evening to everybody. I was just going to listen in, but I did decide to speak, as you hear. But I like to just commend everybody for ordering a shirt, and for those who've worn the shirts already and have conducted their experiments. I initially heard about the shirts, which was some years ago when you mentioned it, Gus. I got very excited. Like, I was like, man, I want one of those shirts. And then recently, when it was mentioned again, I still had that excitement. Like, hey, I want to get one of those shirts. But yeah, I guess due to my conditioning and just seeing the terrorism that white people have caused to me, or it has enacted upon me, and just witnessing it is I guess I don't know. I haven't followed through with that initial excitement to get the shirt. I know you discussed the Voltron effect and just the way white people, they perform surveillance and a network. I mean, they network the best. I mean, they're absolutely masters at networking and performing surveillance. But I think, and like I said, my I don't know, skepticism or whatever has prevented me from getting it. But now, and also I kind of let it go, like where you initially announced it again. I was like, okay, those shirts will be bought up really fast, because it sounded like a lot of people were expressing interest in them. So I was like, okay, it's probably no more shirts. I kind of use that as an excuse. But yeah, just to be honest, I guess, man, these white folk, they, I don't know, they really, I always think twice, just because, yeah, like I said, I've been terrorized for, my whole life or whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and buy one anyway, and I will really think about certain areas. I will probably, I'm in a very liberal area now, moved from where I used to reside, and I will be taking the time to maybe wear it at certain festivals where I know there'll be a lot of liberal white people, or it doesn't matter, conservative, liberal, I don't care. But yeah, I just wanted to be honest. Yeah, I kind of I definitely hesitated, and these white people, and typically, like, I try to use the code of not helping white people, only with the exception of if I'm at work and I have to help them, I do it. But I find myself still helping them beyond what's needed or beyond my job scope, and so it's just a lot of things like that. But again, lastly, I like to commend everyone for wearing their shirts, and that's all I have. And good evening to everyone.
Much obliged. Appreciate being honest. That is important. And again, logical. I said that way back in 2012 that I do not think this is the sort of shirt that, yes, I am so excited. I just want to wear this every single day. Like, I did not think that would be this sort of shirt in a system of white supremacy that, makes total logical sense. All of the apprehension that you raised about wearing the shirt or even ordering the shirt. Well, not that they would run out because we were pre-orders, but the rest of it in terms of, do you really want to wear that out in public and all the rest of it. I mean, just racism, white supremacy can have a huge impact on our thinking and motivation in terms of the way that we think, speak, act, even our emotions, directly, indirectly. It is an awesome system. And I mean, we use the word terrorism for a reason. And absolutely, we are under surveillance. And whites do pay attention to absolutely. And they terrorize us all the time. Absolutely. But I mean, they do that even for folks who don't have a shirt on. So you could not wear the shirt and all those things could still happen. I keep that in mind as well. And again, as I've said, I thought the general response would be, whoa, Negro might be a bit more confused, going to be cautious, might have to increase surveillance, but definitely going to be cautious and make sure that I, don't do any direct harm to this one or in front of this one. Like, whoa, be a little careful. That's generally what I thought would happen, and that's been, for the most part, the case. That's been my interpretation of the results thus far. Any other comments, questions folks have? I will eagerly await additional comments, questions, experiences from folks as people continue to get the shirts or as people finally get opportunities to wear the shirt out and about in public. Responses from whites and non-whites, both are interesting. I try to share both, when I have interesting responses from non-white people as well as from whites. So drop an email untiljustice@gmail.com, or you can call in, share your experience, and very serious. If you wear the shirt or even if you had the original and felt unsafe, or it was a moment where it was a bit tense, definitely let us know. That, like I said, is not my sense for folks who've had the shirt over the years, but I would definitely like to know. I hope everyone will be safe tomorrow. I don't do so-called holidays, but many people will be recognizing tomorrow. I suspect there will be a lot of alcohol during the battle simulations, fireworks as they call it. Be codified and safe, whether you have a counter-racist t-shirt or not. Even if you're going to be around a lot of victims, if it's alcohol or people are not being codified, even that could be a dicey proposition. Just be constructive and safe with your time and energy over that, really for the rest of the week, because the shenanigans and alcohol tend to just continue flowing for the remainder of the week. So remain constructive and be mindful of all of that. There'll probably be more sobriety points and what have you out on the roads, especially if you're in an area with a lot of dark people. Sobriety would be best. We'll be here on Thursday for Workplace Racism, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I know we used to have cookouts at some jobs during the summertime. This time of year, I don't know if you all are having to do that. You should have a code for how you're going to function if they have any of those wacky summertime events on your job. We'll be here Friday, book club, previously mentioned, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. The yoga teacher training has made me adjust the schedule slightly, so we're 1 hour early on Friday for the book club. Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man, Session 10, Gus T Renegade's all-time favorite book. We are beyond the halfway point, Friday, part 10, and we'll be here this Saturday for the compensatory call-in, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Tune in. Looking forward to hopefully sharing constructive info. If you have questions, emails, guest suggestions, gripes, just drop an email. Untiljustice@gmail.com. Untiljustice@gmail.com. Much obliged to all the folks who participated, I guess, for getting a shirt and participating, wearing the shirt, having plans to wear the shirt, ordering a shirt. Much obliged. I hope it is in counter-racist spirit. And I hope it encourages other folks to think of different experiments. That's something Dr. Welsing encourages. Mr. Fuller encourages experimenting so that we can not just come up with theories about how things work in the system of white supremacy or how things can be dismantled and replaced with justice, but let's go out and test. Let's go out and apply and see what happens. That is extremely important as counter-racist scientists. So you can take advantage of this t-shirt experiment, come up with your own, both. We need more of that, less spectating from counter-racists. That said, again, I'll say it again, sobriety would be best under conditions of white supremacy for all the reasons I've already said, on the broadcast. Dr. Welsing, I know, would co-sign. Let us take phenomenal care of our brain computers so that we can run our counter-racist experiments and come up with solutions to the problem, the system of white supremacy. Certainly, if you're going to be in a vehicle, driver, or passenger, the rest of the week, the rest of the year, the rest of your time on planet Earth, you should be sober and buckled up. Race soldiers, let's do everything we can to avoid them, badge or no. Buckling up, that is an easy one. That said, Creator, we ask that you help us remain patient with other black people, victims of white supremacy. We ask that you help us remain patient with ourselves. Remind us to demonstrate the highest levels of black self-respect at all times, in all places, each and every time we are in contact with another black person. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. The website for Trav, once again, cafepress.com/Trav lyrics. Cow signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. No problem. You're a victim.
I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning.
Shut up.
The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.